I feel like sometimes we forget that the military is so big, and we pull enlisted and officers from literally all over the country, that like there's bound to be people that grow up a different lifestyle than you. Mm-hmm.
This is Olivia, and our guest host today is Victoria. So I guess we want to go ahead and start off by just, telling us a little bit about yourself and how you are, like what your relationship is in the military, and what kind of advice you might have for loved ones in the military.
So I have been a military wife for 4 years as of Sunday.
Congratulations!
Thank you. We kind of have like 2 anniversaries because we did a courthouse wedding and then we did a big wedding. Mm-hmm. So today is our second 4-year anniversary. So my husband's in the Coast Guard, and I grew up with my dad. He was in the Army. He did infantry. My stepdad was in the Navy. My grandparents on both sides were both in the Navy. And my brother is Army Reserve right now. So just surrounded by
military culture everywhere.
Military culture.
I understand that because my husband comes from a long line of family members in the military, and my family a little bit, but not so much. So I had no idea.
I had like nobody in my family from the military. I have like one of my cousins married a Marine, and that was like the closest I had. Like my grandfather's brother was, but that was like being the draft was the last time that anybody was in the military in my family. So it's great. My husband has a bunch, but
I bet it's like a huge culture shock when you like kind of have no idea, and then you're just thrust into it.
And we were exactly like you. Like 6 months after dating, we got married. And then a week later, he left for boot camp, and then I just kind of went straight into it. So
wow.
I am definitely in the same boat as you.
I guess, like, I feel kind of lucky that, like, I got to grow up with a little bit. My dad wasn't always in the Army. He got medically just discharged for a shoulder injury. But it definitely, we moved a lot. We lived in Germany for a big part of my upbringing. And then we grew up in Pensacola, which is, as everybody knows, a huge Navy town surrounded by lots of Navy. So I got to see it a lot. But I guess like a really good piece of advice that I would have is like taking deep breaths and like taking that moment to kind of center yourself, because everything is crazy all the time. You never know when they're going out to sea or when you're PCSing next. And so I am kind of a control freak. I have a calendar, like I have multiple calendars, and I like everything scheduled out to a T. So it's been really hard to adjust to, going with that kind of flow. And then just being understanding that, they're also going through some really rough things. And I feel like sometimes we forget that, or I do.
Yeah.
So
I do too.
Absolutely. I'm constantly like asking my husband, after he's told me multiple times like when his duty days are, and
I made a calendar exactly like because he's on a 4-day rotation right now. So I put it in Google Calendar. Best tip, guys: Google Calendar for all on duty. You can do recurring appointments. So
I tried Google Calendar with my husband, and he will not do it.
I just keep his calendar. He doesn't touch it.
Yeah, see, I need to talk to one of his coworkers that he works with, like, I guess does all his scheduling, and I just need to get her number and be like, we need to hook up. I need to know what's going on with his life.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So today's topic is going to be on like judgment among military spouses. Before we get started, I do want to go ahead and apologize for last week's video. It was definitely a little hectic on my part.
Real life coming through there strong.
So like for all of you, like you know, my little boy is my everything, and he takes precedent over this channel, over anything and everything that I do. So like last week I was like, you know, we had another special guest, so I was like, okay, I need to try and stay, that way, you know, I could be there for her. And then he's going through a really bad growth spurt, so he was just ready to go. So that's
all you mamas out there, I'm
Yes.
sure understand exactly what Kate was going through, and that's why we're glad that James is at home
Yes.
with Dad tonight, and Mom gets a day off.
a little bit of a break.
A break here.
So back on topic. I felt like I needed to share that a little
Speaking
bit.
of possible judgment.
So I guess first question would be, or actually, what advice would you give military spouses on how to be more inclusive within the community?
So I feel like sometimes we forget that the military is so big, and we pull enlisted and officers from literally all over the country, that like there's bound to be people that grow up a different lifestyle than you. You know, I grew up a totally different lifestyle than my husband. His parents have been together for a very long time. I was trying to remember exactly. He's gonna get mad at me. But, you know, and my parents divorced when I was really, really little. So, you know, that right there is obviously a difference. And sometimes, not that my husband judges me or anything for that, but other people looking into that can be judgmental of that. And then, you know, throughout, you know, there's differences just, and people now especially being open with certain like personal parts of their life and who their partners are and spouses are, and just, you know, whether people have tattoos or different hair colors, stuff like that. Everyone grew up differently, but our military spouses and partners are giving a big part of their life to, you know, do this service. And I feel like that's one thing that we have to remember, that it just kind of brings us back together. And I think if we think of that more, it'll be easier just to kind of let that judgment go.
Absolutely.
Very well said. Yeah. I think for me, it is about like trying to create that community, and I'm a crazy person, and everybody laughs at me, but I'm always the first person. Like if I see someone like sitting there kind of by themselves, I'll be like, "Hi, how are you? Like, what's going on today?" Like, and I try to like put that out there in the world, because that's how I want to be treated when I'm sitting in a room alone. And just example, like with my job, we're constantly hiring new stylists. Like there's lots of like incoming girls that are in, and I remember being in that position and just kind of feeling like a little awkward. You don't know anybody in that room, like, and I had those couple of girls that did come over and introduce themselves and make you feel welcome, and it just is such a warmer feeling inside than having to just sit there and be like, I don't know anything about this is confusing. It's even like you were involved in the military a lot, you had a lot of that from, like, what if you had zero idea anything this person you're sitting there, you're like, I don't know what's happening.
You know, I grew up around it, but I still know like no military terms.
We still have to release that video.
I don't know anything about the differences in boats. I know my husband works on icebreakers, and and his current job title is something with Force Com. That's about it.
That's being like, what is he on? He's on a sub of some sort. Boomer. What about you, Kate?
I think it's basically like you guys hit it on the head of the nail. Like, I guess I've always been that kind of person who's just, I am the person in the corner. I want to kind of stay away. Like, if you come up and talk to me, that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm not judging that person by staying in my little corner. I'm just nervous. I'm shy. So it's always very hard for me. And, you know, like you guys are saying, like, if you come up and talk to people, like, they're in the same position as you are. So just kind of trying to remember that, like,
everyone's as scared as you are.
Exactly. And not everyone knows the questions, the answers to the questions that they need to, especially military spouses who have never, like, has no background in the military. They are going fresh into it. So if you can just kind of like remember that and like, basically try and become friends or like give them advice, we're all going through the same thing, so there's no need to
Yeah, and I feel like we see a lot of this culture like online, especially with military groups and especially military wife groups, which they can be extremely positive, you know, places to be and places to vent about things going on. But, you know, we also see a lot that like if a girl has a question and she might be new and she might not understand everything, it's suddenly like, you know, it can be like a mob. And I feel like that's a lot of times where we forget that even if you are behind a screen, like, you're affecting that person's confidence. They might not come out again and ask a question that they don't know, and that puts them in a worse situation than just taking a second to think, well, they might really not understand, and at one point I didn't understand, you know? So I feel like that's something really important to remember.
I oh my goodness, I feel like I still don't understand half the time. I'm like, am I supposed to know that one? It's hard.
Yeah, I've definitely been in the situation where I've asked a certain question and, you know, I've had people look at me like, really, you don't know that? And it's like, no, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm the queen, I just go along with it. I'm just like, yeah, I knew that. Just gonna... No, but there's lots of stuff that it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And a lot to learn in a short period of time.
And it's different for every branch, like, you know.
Every boat, every different division or section or anything that they're going into. Like, you never know.
And they all start fresh. Every time they go to a new job, they have to relearn everything. So,
and then relearn it again. They change something again.
It's just a constant wheel of reinventing.
Oh, goodness.
where have you felt like, you know, that with other military spouses, like, that they were judging you?
Yeah, so as I was telling you earlier, my husband and I, we got married after 4 months of dating, and I was pregnant. So those are two things that, you know, automatically people tend to be really judgmental of. 4 years later, going strong. So, but there was a time where we had just gotten to a new station, and because I didn't originally want to be involved in the military, I was like crazy rebellious. I had blue hair throughout my pregnancy, purple hair. Like, I've got a bunch of tattoos, and we went to a military event, and there was a lot of older military wives who were very, you know, like, respectful and stuff like that, and like I could see them because I was like 8 months pregnant with very long blue hair.
I want to see pictures because you probably looked so stunning.
Yes. I will show you guys later. And I could see them like in a corner, like looking at me and snickering, and you know, it like, I wanted to be a part of that community and I wanted to support my husband, but I felt so like shunned because of that. And that's something that I really hope that nobody else has to go through, because it, especially being pregnant and in a new city and not knowing anyone, it was really hard, and it made me like, I didn't go out to any other military events for a long time because of that. So
It's just a sucky situation. Like,
yeah.
and you got through it though. You were strong through it, but now you have to figure out how to almost forgive that situation, right? Like, how do you go about that?
So I still have, I mean, I've got anxiety in general. So like, we just went to a like promotion ceremony, and it was like formal dress kind of, but my husband's really bad at telling you like what formal is, if it's like semi-formal or like business formal.
Is it like, are we going to a ball or am I going to a meeting?
And so, like, before those events, I kind of have a freak out. I'm like, am I wearing the right thing? Like, you know, am I being appropriate? Like, I don't want him to look bad. And I just kind of have to remind myself that, like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay if I make a mistake. There's going to be a million other of these events. And if someone says something bad about me, then that's on them. That's not on me.
And I think we have to remind ourselves, we are not in the military. Us, whatever we wear, okay, maybe like our husband's gonna just look at us and be like, oh my gosh, but like, nobody really cares what we look like. We're just here to support them. So that's hard. I know for me personally, like, I've not necessarily been as involved in my husband's ship as I should be. I work full time. Like, we live 35 minutes away from base. Like, we're not anywhere near anybody else. But I remember going to a family meeting, and like, I walked in there, I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be like a fun night. Like, no makeup on, like, got my hair braided back, like, I had jeans on, like, it was very low key. And then I get in there and there's like girls in like heels, full faces of makeup, like flat ironed or curled hair, and I'm like, what are you like, I just felt like so out of place, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, thanks, Jeff. Like, thanks, Jeff.
I feel
Thanks
like
for
there's
telling me
always
this.
that competition for some reason, and I mean, when I go out, I like to sometimes dress up. I like to feel a little girly because my husband tells me all the time that I'm like the biggest tomboy at home.
Yeah.
So if I can go out and look a little pretty, like he's like, "Oh, honey, you look nice today." But I've noticed like,
Who dressed the best?
Yeah.
At the family readiness meeting. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm a cosmetologist, so I wear makeup, do my hair every single day. If it's my day off, you're not, like, I have makeup on today. This is special, guys. Feel very, encouraged that there's eyebrows on today. But I'm not doing anything special because I have to do it every single day.
And when I was pregnant, I actually felt the same way you did because we went to a, like, it was kind of like a little, like, barbecue cookout sort of for their crew. And so, like, James calls me and is like, hey, honey, like, I want you to come down here. I want you to meet some of, the guys from work or, whoever's going to be there. There was, like, other military spouses. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, this will be fun. And, everyone seemed very nice, but it was one of those moments where I felt out of place because he comes up to get me. I'm very pregnant. And, we're holding hands, and it's like everyone stopped what they're doing, and it felt like all eyes were on me. So, and then you can see people, like, whispering and talking, and it doesn't, it kind of puts you in a position where you don't want to talk to anyone. You want to stay away because you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you're worried about what you look like. And I felt like I was maybe like a total bitch because, like, I stayed away. Yeah. And I don't, exactly. And I hate those type of situations because no one really gets to know us because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this huge problem with resting bitch face, and it's really just my face, I promise. But I feel like sometimes because of my anxiety and because I normally stand back first, then that can put people off, and I don't realize it, and then I feel like, I'll like overanalyze that, and then I'll think about it more, and then I get more uncomfortable and things like that. But I really feel like, like there are so many issues going on with the world. Like, I feel like women need to just, especially in the military, you just need to empower each other. Like, go up to someone and tell them they're pretty, they're rocking that t-shirt, like, who cares? It's really not a competition, and it shouldn't be. We're all here to be arm candy for our husbands. Basically it.
No, we do other things, but these crazy events where it's like, everybody come, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, the secret is nobody really knows what they're doing. They're all just pretending.
Everybody's pretending they know exactly what's happening. Yeah. And then they go home and they're like, okay, tell me now more. Yes. Kind of on the flip side of that, like, where have you felt more appreciated instead of being judged? Like, the level there where you're like, okay, I can deal.
So I feel like this station is my first station where I feel more appreciated. I go to a lot more of my husband's events, even though I work full time. But it's just like, I guess his unit is smaller, so they're a lot more open and accepting, and he has a very diverse group of people in his workplace, which I feel like helps a lot, because I'm very much like a Seattle girl, and I grew up in that kind of environment, and just like seeing all of that and like being welcomed, and it's just made it like so much easier. And my ombudsman is amazing. She throws like the best Halloween parties and like the best get-togethers and 4th of July parties, and just like kind of being able to like relax and like take a deep breath, and like having people come up to me and like start this conversation makes me feel a lot more appreciated. So
it's beautiful. For me, it's just those couple of people that you have on the ship that it's like, okay, I know you, we can sit now, I'm getting to know you better. Yeah. And then I actually did hair for 2 of the higher ups on his ship.
Oh, cool.
One just an updo, and the other one I highlighted, and I went to a game night with a couple of his buddies, and they're like, "Oh, wait, we know about you. They were talking about you doing the hair." And I was like, "Okay, Jeff, hand out some cards here." Like, it's like, okay, we know that I'm a hairdresser at least. That's step one to get me. It's craziness, though.
I feel like I'm still adjusting here. Because in Charleston, like, every person that my husband made friends with, like, they were over at our house, or we were going out to a bar with them. So it was like a very close-knit family amongst the sailors. So here, I haven't gotten that yet. I mean, except for you ladies.
Well, obviously.
Like, I mean, I think, you know, this channel and with you guys have been wonderful, because in Charleston, I wasn't friends with any spouses, really. I mean, maybe a few. Most of them, like, lived out of state. So here it's been, you know, nice to, like, just meet people, and especially you guys, because, you know, you are women. When in Charleston, it was all men.
It was you and all the guys.
Yeah. So, like, I guess I'm still kind of trying to balance that out, you know, because I miss.
And they'll probably be right before you have to piece. Yes, the next time you'll be like, yes, I find my boo on when you're like, okay, bye. See you guys next time I'm up here.
Hopefully we're going back to Charleston so I can, you know, see some of the old friends. But it's just,
it's hard.
You have to go with the flow no matter where you go. So
yeah, really need to make the best of it. I feel like everywhere, you know. My thing is, like, I don't make a lot of friends, like, on his boats and things like that, because a lot of them are not, like, married or don't have girlfriends, and so it's harder to connect. But for me, it's really hard leaving, like, my work friends and my school friends, and I made, like, a really close group of people, like, in Cleveland. If you guys ever go to Cleveland, like,
my sister's at college up there.
Don't listen to anything anybody says there, because if you have a baby up there, they have the best mommy and me groups, the best breastfeeding groups. Like, they know the system, and like, it just brought so many people together, and a lot of them were military people that like were from like other, you know, branches and stuff like that. And it was a really great way to like.
It's awesome.
So
you met all these people up there.
Yeah, always make the best of it everywhere you move, you know. And then you move.
And then you move. And then you get to do it all over again. And then you have friends there, you have friends here. And you can go anywhere you want in the country, and you'll probably have somebody to stay with.
So I guess my question is like, when did you start getting that deep breath of feeling like, okay, like, maybe I am included, like, maybe things are starting to work out better?
For me, it's the more I talk to other military spouses. Like, the fact that other people understand what you're going through, and just getting that same, like, okay, those little jokes that only we know, and only somebody who's going through that military spouse relationship will understand. Like, those types of things just, like, keep me going and keep me being like, okay, I'm not the only one here. We're all in the same boat. It's probably the best.
I think it's that way as well. Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
For me, it's when people start asking me my opinions on their pets. That's like hands down the best. That's when I know I'm accepted.
You're like, you know where I am.
Use me for my job, and I'm okay for that.
Like, I will love all of your puppies and all your kitties.
I'm the person that goes to the barbecue and finds the dog and sits with them the whole time.
Yes.
Are you a vet technician?
So I'm in school to be a vet tech, but I'm currently a veterinary assistant at Bainfield.
For a little while, I was a veterinary assistant in Charleston. So, and I was at that animal clinic for a little over a year, and I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like, that's, if you could talk to them about their animals, because you know, like, they love their fur babies. I know you hate that term, but
my dog is my child, though,
yeah.
so yeah.
So, you know, every time someone has, I remember in Charleston, we went over to a friend's house and she had like this beautiful Great Dane and huge baby, and I was just like, can I have you please? Like, here.
Let me cuddle.
You guys need to come meet my babies then, because I've got 8 fur babies, and they are the loves of my life, including my, non-fur baby son. But yeah, anytime you can connect on an animal level, like, you've won that party.
I mean, I was a crazy horse girl growing up, so like, if you get me started on that, like, we can talk for hours. Anything else, Victoria, you wanted to bring up? Any other advice you had?
No, I think that's really it. Just really keeping an open mind and understanding that, differences are a good thing. Differences are not bad. Just because you don't share the same, whatever, doesn't mean that you can't be friends, and doesn't mean that you can't meet new people. And I think that's really it.
And having fun hair color is a sign that you're a really fun person.
Yes.
So stop with your judgments.
I rocked that blue hair, okay? With my 9-month pregnant belly.
I remember in Charleston, we like had our little friend group, and in Charleston, we had different friend groups for different schools that my husband was in at the time. And I remember for like the first and second school, I had a few friends, and like I'm a huge comic geek, and I think that's like for some spouses, like they don't want to talk about that. They're like, that's kind of weird. So I always got, along more so with the guys, and we would have like, hour-long discussions on like our comic book characters and like get into arguments. And I miss that because like, a lot of people judge just because you're different or you like different things. And I miss just being able to like talk about whatever, like it doesn't have to be specifically on like certain topics, especially when it comes to like, oh, what does your husband do? What rank is he? Like just be yourself. And I think that's been kind of hard here because, no one really wants to get out of their shell and talk to you. And I know I've like gone up to a few people and I'm like, hi, like my name's Kate, like let's talk, have a good time. And it's like, hi. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so then you just kind of feel insecure and just...
Did I say something wrong? I thought I just said hello. Like,
is there something on my face?
Did I offend them? Was I not supposed to shake their hand? Like, yeah.
Well, anytime you want to talk comics or anything, I'm your girl.
You guys are like cut from the same cloth over here.
So, I'm okay to admit this. My husband gets a little embarrassed, but like, I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons geek. I love it so much. I love role-playing games. Everybody at my work knows, and like it drives them nuts. But like before, I felt like I couldn't talk about it at all because it's so geeky.
Yeah.
But like I love comics. I love superheroes. But I grew up with like a lot of brothers, and I think that had part of it. But yeah, anytime.
Yes. And sorry for you Marvel fans, but I'm a DC girl, so.
Oh my god. Literally my soul sister. My first ever tattoo was a Batman tattoo.
Where did you find her?
The internet.
She swiped right.
Yep. We found Kate's new best friend. Okay, that's the title of this video. Alright, Kate, you want to wrap us up then? You guys can go have your...
Sure. Alright. Give me a second here. Okay. Whew.
Got a little warm in here.
Yes. Alright, so that wraps up today's video. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on future content. Thank you so much for coming on and talking. We loved having you, loved hearing your story. Unfortunately, we did miss Amanda and Jessica today, but they're, spending time with family. So, and once again, family is the most important. So I guess with that, we will see you guys later. Bye.